In the 1760s, Europe began a widespread and influential art movement known as the era of neoclassical art. This type of art was one where artists brought life to their artworks and would paint simple images of people and images of history. For example, this piece here, called Death of Marat by Jacques-Louis David, shows a true event that happened in Europe and uses natural colors and a clear, crisp definition of the figure. But many artists felt restricted with this, leading to the wonderful era of Romanticism. The Romantics were people that believed that freedom was the right and property of all, and that the path to freedom was through imagination and feeling rather than reason. The shift from neoclassicism to Romanticism in art was more than stylistic. It represented a philosophical change in emphasis from reason to emotion. The artists wanted to create pieces where the viewer would look at their creations and truly feel something, not just pass by it in a gallery or museum and think, oh, that's quite nice. Although the Romantics all could have chosen to paint happy events of history and beautiful scenes in nature, several of them decided to trigger the opposite human emotion and prick some points of the human brain to create pieces that one would only see in nightmares and create a feeling of fear and even sadness. According to an article in the Smithsonian Magazine, the author states that fear creates distraction, which can be a positive experience in the sense that when that person's brain has gone through the chemical reactions of fear and more, that person is on high alert and not preoccupied with other things on their mind. With the artist triggering an emotion so strong, they have caught the full attention of their viewers and accomplished the goal of romantic art. In order to show you an example of what a gallery filled with dark romanticism art would feel like, I created an online gallery to exhibit them. This art exhibition is simply titled Dark Romanticism, the Emotional Power of Art, and holds 9 pieces that are exemplary of triggering this emotion. There was only a small variety of colors to choose from, but I felt that the best color choice was red. When the viewer enters, they are at once triggered with the emotion of surprise when viewing the walls, and it only becomes increased when they start viewing the pieces. The pieces also all range in subtle tones of tan, beige, black, reds, and hints of blues that both contrast and blend in very well with the background, making the pieces pop out. Although there are many pieces to talk about, I would like to focus on 3 main ones that have made an impact in art history, and that I believe are very important to understand the emotions within Romanticism art. The first one is this well-known piece called The Desperate Man by Gustave Courbet. It is an oil painting created through the years of 1843 to 45 and not too big in size. This painting is actually a self-portrait of the artist and one of the only portraits that he has created in a horizontal view. Courbet's goal in his art was not to create beauty, but to display the truth in his paintings. It is said that this was one of his most prized pieces. I decided to place this at the entrance of the gallery for the viewers themselves to see the emotion they would be going through. Courbet displays the desperation he constantly held by showing the almost blank stare in the eyes and pale face, yet still with rosy cheeks, and his hands tearing through his hair. Anyone that has felt this emotion could only resonate so well with it, and just staring into it starts building up the fear in oneself and causes sympathy. The second piece I wanted to talk about is The Nightmare by Henry Fuseli. Henry Fuseli was a Swiss painter that was largely self-taught and loved to express the fantasies of his vivid imagination. He liked to specifically display night moods of horror and in dark fantasies, like the demonic and the macabre and even the sadistic. In this piece, there's a young woman draped limply across her bed with a demon on top of her chest. This demon was often known specifically as an incubus, which was believed to prey on women sexually. In the background, there is a ghost-like horse, giving a pun to the name of Nightmare. Fuseli was one of the first artists to depict dark imagery like this and opened the door for many more romantic artists. To this day, many people have said they go through night terrors where they feel and even see a figure applying pressure, causing an incapability of movement. Those that see this and have gone through that would become quite spooked by seeing it and may even feel that presence themselves in the room. The last piece I wanted to focus on is the painting Saturn Devouring His Son by Francisco de Goya. De Goya is depicting the myth of the Titan Cronus, who had feared that he would be overthrown by one of his children and ate each one upon birth. This painting is a part of the Pinturas Negras, also known as Black Paintings, which is a group of 14 pieces that portray intense, haunting themes relative to both his fear of insanity and his bleak outlook on humanity. Looking at this piece, one sees the blur in the colors, and although it may not be detailed, there's the goriness of the missing head and blood trailing down the body of Saturn's son. When the viewer knows the backstory, it may be quite sad, but also may cause a feeling of uncomfortableness and fear of looking into the monster-like God's eyes. Every person will have their own emotions when it comes to viewing these pieces, but I could almost guarantee that if I personally walked through this gallery, I myself would start to feel fear and maybe possibly an urge to leave. Romanticism was an era where the Romantics could really be truthful and display to humanity that emotions like fear, sadness, and more are truly real.